With the help of a neat diagram, discuss the internal structures of the earth and explain how the study of the seismic waves help in the better understanding of the earth interior. The interior of the earth is made up of several concentrated layers. Okay, mechanically the earth layer can be divided into lithosphere, asthenosphere, mesospheric mantle and the core. Chemically, earth can be divided into the crust, upper mantle, lower mantle, outer core, inner core. Internal structure of the earth is detailed below. Crust. Crust is the outermost solid part of the earth जिसकी thickness 5 to 30 kilometers है, accounting for 1% of the earth volume and 5% of the earth mass. Oceanic crust is thinner, about 5 km as compared to continental crust, which is about 30 km. Continental crust consists of Cl, that is silica aluminum, while the oceanic crust consists of Sema, that is silica and magnesium. The mean density of the crust material is 3 gram per centimeter cube. The Mohorovicic discontinuity or the Moho discontinuity separate the crust from the mantle. फिर mantle is the layer which is beyond the crust, is a mantle with a thickness of 2900 km, making up 84% of the earth volume and 67% of the earth mass. Mantle is made up of oxygen, silicon, magnesium, जिसकी डेंसिटी 3.5 से 4.5 ग्राम पर सेंटीमीटर क्यूब होती है. फिर asthenosphere, the highly viscous upper region which just lies below the lithosphere in the mantle and is the main source of magma over which the continental plates move, and Gutenberg discontinuity separates the mantle and the outer core. The core is the innermost layer which is constituting 15% of the earth volume and 32.5% of the earth mass. It has the highest density of all the layers at 9.5 से 14.5 gram per centimeter cube, composed mainly of the knife, that is iron and nickel. The inner core is solid and outer core is liquid. The study of the seismic waves has helped in providing a detailed view of the earth interior as described below. The thickness P waves are faster and can travel through both the solid and the liquid. S waves are slower and cannot travel through the liquid. This characteristics of the seismic waves has helped in arriving at important conclusion about thickness of the various layers inside the earth through the analysis of the arrival times of the seismic signals during the earthquakes. Composition. Scientists have deduced Earth's composition by studying the shadow zones of the seismic waves, that is, the absence and the presence of the P and S waves on the seismogram during earthquakes at the different places due to the blocking and deflection of the seismic waves by the structural layers. For example, deflection of the P waves at the boundary between the inner and the outer core give information about composition of the solid inner core. Theoretical studies and the modeling help arrive at the more concrete conclusions based on the raw seismic data. Structure. By measuring the time it takes for the seismic wave to travel along different regions through the earth, geologists figure out the structural component of the earth interior. For example, the abrupt changes in the velocity and deflection correspond to boundary between different layers of the earth, uniformity and discontinuity in composition, and the state of the matter at the different depth. Geologists use various indirect methods, gravity, magnetic fields, seismic waves, to determine the earth interior, along with the complex computational method. But most hypotheses about the internal structure of the earth are developed by studying the seismic waves. ठीक है. Then you have to highlight the condition that is suitable for the formation and development of the coral reef. Also discuss the various natural and anthropogenic factor which is responsible for their destruction. The coral is a marine organism that exists in symbiotic relationship between the zooxanthellae, that is the algae in the tropical waters, to form the coral reefs. There are three types of coral reefs: the fringing, barrier and atoll. Coral reefs are also known as the rainforest of the ocean, which is one of the most diverse and important marine ecosystem, and they have great economic significance because they are rich fishing grounds as well as tourist attraction. Following conditions suitable for formation development of coral reef: shallow depth. The corals depend on the zooxanthellae which need sunlight to survive. Thus, coral reefs grow at the shallow depth where the sunlight filters through to support the symbiotic algae. The warm water. Most corals survive in the narrow temperature range of 23 to 29 degrees Celsius, with some species surviving at as low as 20 degrees Celsius and few others at as high as 32 degrees Celsius. Clean salt water. The corals are sensitive to pollution and sediments, so corals require clean water for the growth. In addition, the corals require balanced salinity to survive and grow. Oxygen and plankton. Adequate oxygen in the microscopic marine food called the phytoplankton is essential for the coral growth. Often these are found near the sea surface. Coral bleaching is a process where the corals turn white because the coral polyps expel the algae zooxanthellae that live inside the tissue. The coral bleaching or the coral destruction occur as a result of various natural and anthropogenic factors discussed below. ठीक है, बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स होते हैं. देखो जैसे नेचुरल फैक्टर्स, द वेदर रिलेटेड डैमेज. द कोरल्स फ्रिक्वेंटली सस्टेन द वेदर रिलेटेड डैमेज. फॉर एग्जाम्पल द पावरफुल वेव्स from the hurricane and the cyclone. They can break apart or flatten the large coral head. Tidal changes. The long period of exceptionally low tide leaves coral heads exposed and damages the reef. The amount of the damage depends on the time of the day and the weather conditions. El Nino, increased sea surface temperatures and salinity can occur due to the El Nino, which can kill corals. For example, during 1997 to 1998, El Nino extensive coral reef bleaching in the Indo-Pacific and Caribbean destroyed 90% of the corals. Historically, natural factors including the climate change, such as the ice ages, were responsible for the coral reef destruction. However, in the recent times, anthropogenic factors have become more important reasons for destruction of the coral reefs. Anthropogenic factors, the global warming, increased GGGs from the deforestation, burning of the fossil fuels, etc., with the effects on the ocean temperatures and the storm patterns, and the sea level has altered habitat conditions of the coral, leading to the increased incidence of the coral damage. Ocean acidification has also contributed to the coral bleaching. Pollution in the form of oil spillage, flow of urban industrial waste, and the agrochemicals into the seas are poisoning the reefs. Where destructive fishing practices include the cyanide fishing, blast or dynamite fishing, bottom trawling, neuroami, which is banging on the reef with the sticks. Careless tourism. Careless tourism include boating, driving, snorkeling with the people touching reefs, collecting oral, etc., and resorts being built on the reefs is destroying the corals around the world. Construction and the mining. Erosion due to the illegal construction, mining, including the effects of the higher riverine and coastal sediments, kill the corals while depriving them of sunlight. Anthropogenic activities that led to global warming have created existential threat for the coral system. There is a need to conserve the highly biodiverse coral reef through the regulation of human activities in the coral region, while increasing the scientific understanding of the coral ecosystem to find the solution for the regeneration. With the help of the map given below, highlight the distribution of the petroleum and the natural gas in India. Also discuss the implication of the scarcity of the petroleum natural gas resources in the country. ठीक है. Oil, natural gas originated from animal and the vegetable matter contained in the shallow marine sediment. They are found in the sedimentary basin, shallow depression, and in the seas. India has limited oil and natural reserves. Majority of these oil reserves are associated with anticline and the fault trap in the sedimentary rock formation of tertiary times. An oil reservoir must have three requisite conditions: the porosity, in order to accumulate large amount of oil; permeability, to discharge oil gas when well has been drilled; porous sand beds, sandstone, and the conglomerate of the fissured limestone containing oil should be capped by the impervious rock to prevent the dissipation of the oil through percolation in the surrounding rocks. Based on above criteria, distribution of the petroleum and natural gas reserves in the country can be broadly divided into following regions, है ना. Western coast offshore fields, oil field. This region has a maximum reserve of the country. Extraction of the oil on the commercial scale has been achieved at the Mumbai High Basin and Alia Bet Island in the Gulf of Khambad. Oil fields in the northeast region. This region has second large reserves of the country. Major oil fields in this region are Brahmaputra Valley in Assam and the neighboring areas of Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura and Nagaland. Some important oil fields of Assam's Hardik Boi, Nahar Katia and the Moran region. Onshore oil fields on the western India. Oil-bearing rocks are found around the Gulf of Khambat. Commercial extraction is being done from the oil fields like Ankleshwar, Khambat, Lunej field and Ahmedabad Kalol field. Some largest inland oil fields are located in the Barmar district of Rajasthan. Eastern coast oil field. They are predominantly the reserves of natural gas. Some oil fields in this region like Krishna Godavari Basin and Sundarbans are the offshore oil reserves and other like Koveri Basin are the onshore reserves. फिर implications क्या हैं? Auto scarcity of these resources in the country. Energy insecurity. Energy security is the continuous and affordable availability of energy sources at an affordable price. Energy is central to achieving India's developmental ambitions. Nation's demand for energy outpaces domestic supply. Thus, it has to depend on the foreign countries to meet its energy requirement. Also, it makes India vulnerable to disruptions in SLOC. This has energy security implications for India. The drain of forest reserves. Due to limited reserves, 83% of Indian oil demand is achieved through import. Also, India has to pay Asian premium on buying the oil from OPEC country, result in high import bill and tendency to increase the current account deficit and depletes the forex reserves. Economic vulnerability. With a limited domestic oil supply and the meager capacity of the India strategic petroleum reserve, nation's economy is highly sensitive to the global oil prices. Increased oil prices lead to increased inflation due to the multiplier effect. Strategic autonomy, regional overdependence of energy import basket result in reducing the strategic autonomy of the importing nation. Over reliance on the coal. Despite the natural gas being a better alternative both economically and environmentally to the coal, India's energy production is dominated by the coal. This can be because of the wide availability of the coal compared to natural gas. India is an energy-hungry country, and with government aggressively pushing for development, its energy demand is bound to increase. And with its limited petroleum natural gas reserves, the country has to look for other alternatives to meet the energy demands. अब देखो क्या है, जब हम ग्राफ देखें ना तो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में देखो क्या क्या है. नॉर्थ ईस्ट में तुम्हारा लखीमपुर है, नाहरकटिया है, बदरपुर है, ठीक है. और फिर तुम्हारे ये ईस्ट की जो नीचे वाली कोस्ट है वहाँ तुम्हारा कृष्णा गोदावरी बेसिन, कावेरी बेसिन है, ठीक है. उड़ीसा कोस्ट है. और फिर तुम्हारे वेस्ट में देखो क्या है, बरमेर, द गल्फ ऑफ कच्चम एंड द गल्फ ऑफ खम्बत एंड द मुंबई हाई, ये सब तुम्हारे वेस्ट की तरफ है. फिर क्या है, enumerate the factors that help the Bombay emerge as center of cotton textile industry. Also present the reasons for the dispersion of the cotton textile industries to other parts of the country. देखो क्या है, Bombay. India has traditionally been a leader in the cotton textile with the Dhaka muslin, Masuliputanam, the Shinchets, and the Calicut calicos being important industrial center. Bombay grew in prominence as a textile center with the first mechanized textile mill being established in 1854, which gradually increased to a total of 136 mill by 1900. Bombay emerged as a center of cotton textile industry in India due to following reason. Raw material close to the cotton producing black soil region of Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Bombay emerged as a collecting center of raw cotton for export to British mill and later for textile mills in Bombay. The port and the railways. The Bombay had excellent harbour facilities for importing large consignments of the long stable cotton, coal and machinery to meet the requirement of the local mills. A well-developed rail and road network helped the transport of the cotton, textile and raw materials. Humid climate and the water availability. The favorable climate of the warm and humid air favored spinning and weaving of the sturdy cotton textile. Availability of abundant water supply for dyeing and bleaching made Bombay a center for cotton auxiliary industries. फिर वहाँ चीप लेबर और कैपिटल होता है ना. फिर Mumbai जो है being the financial center provided capital for setting up the textile mill. The supply of cheap and skilled labor in the large number propelled the growth of cotton industry. All these conditions created a favorable ecosystem and economies of the scale helped in the rapid growth of the Bombay cotton industry. However, कुछ issues थे जैसे excessive competition, congestion, frequent labor strikes. They are encouraged decentralization of cotton industry. जैसे after 1921, cotton industry dispersal started to create new industrial centers like Coimbatore, Madurai, Bangalore, Nagpur, Indore, Solapur, Vadodara due to following factors: the use of humidifiers. The use of humidifiers facilitated establishment of the cotton industries in the dry regions. For example, the power supply in the western India aided the growth of the cotton industries as it made the operations of the humidifier in the dry season viable. Electricity and transport. The development of the railways and the highways reduced the dependency on the proximity to raw material and has reduced the transportation cost. The production of the electricity from the new sources like the hydropower facilitated the growth of cotton industry in Coimbatore, Madurai and Tirunelveli, that is Paikara Dam. Power loom and ports. The sector witnessed a shift from manual to machine-based production and increase in number of power loom. Therefore, industry spread to other port area where machines could be imported easily, such as Kolkata. Labor cost. The industry also shifted from the area of high labor cost to those with the low labor cost. The labor cost was crucial in establishing cotton industry at places like Indore, Solapur and Vadodara. Where government incentivized handloom. Various government measures over the years, such as Integrated Village Handloom Development Scheme and National Silk Yarn Scheme, helped spread of industries in many rural areas. Cheap labor, new demand for handicraft has also fueled the growth of handlooms. Cotton textile sector has historically carried huge potential for employment generation, continues to be of critical importance in solving India employment crisis. The cotton textile sector must be harnessed to its maximum with effective policy support for the development. ठीक है, फिर देखो क्या है, stubble burning is a seasonal issue that accentuates the air pollution problem in Delhi NCR. However, the National Air Quality Index reported just 0, 2 and 5 good air quality day in the 2018, 1920 respectively for Delhi. In this context, discuss the various underlying geographical human factors responsible for this chronic problem और कुछ remedial measures बताओ. देखो, IQ Air 2020 report has ranked Delhi as the most polluted capital in the world और ये तीसरी बार हुआ है. Air quality remains a reason of concern for the most part of year, impacting well-being and health of the people in Delhi NCR region. Stubble farming is blamed as a culprit for this poor air quality. However, the air quality index that measure pollution level on the base of 8 pollutants presented a grim picture of air quality throughout the year. It reflects the beyond seasonal stubble burning that there are multiple factors which are causing air pollution in Delhi NCR, जिसमें है geographical. Geographical क्या है? North westerly winds. North westerly winds जो होते हैं, they carry the dust from the northwest and the middle east, ठीक है, and they cause air pollution. जैसे कि 2017 में a storm originated from the Iraq and Saudi Arabia and led to drastic dip in the Delhi air quality for the month. Slow wind speeds. Changing climate cause slower winds for most of the day. Also, tall buildings, other structures reduce air speed. And due to stagnant winds and the urban heat dust dome, the pollutants get locked in the air, resulting in the smog. फिर आता है landlocked geography. Delhi and the surrounding regions are landlocked by Himalayas in the north and Vindhya in the south. These mountains obstruct the road and they prevent the air pollutant escape. Delhi lies in a semi-arid region, resulting in less rain that could have washed away the pollutants from the air. फिर anthropogenic factors क्या हैं? Industrial pollutants. Several industries Delhi NCR में emit gases like carbon black, SO2, NO2. Many food and fertilizer industries emit the acid vapors. Combustion in the power plant and industries using the dirty fuels like the pet coke, coal and biomass release the hazardous air pollutants. Automobile emission. The tons of air pollutants are being emitted daily from automobile exhaust. According to IIT Kanpur study, 20% of the PM 2.5 in the winter come from vehicular pollution. The exhaust produces many air pollutants including the unburned hydrocarbons CO, NOx and the lead oxide. Unscientific garbage burning. Garbage is a very big issue in Delhi NCR. Garbage burning in the landfill and the other places where there is no collection, processing or disposal emit the hazardous gases. Agriculture activities. The large scale burning of the paddy residues in the October-November and the wheat in April in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP contribute significantly to the air pollution. In addition, the use of insecticides, pesticides and fertilizers release the ammonia, which is a major air pollutant. Construction activities result in the loose sediments that get airborne, causing higher particulate matter pollution. Following are some remedial measures, जैसे कि stubble management technologies. The government should incentivize the use of machine methods like happy seeder, pusa biodecomposer spray to curb pollution from stubble burning. The public transport and smoke towers. More smoke tower and anti-smoke guns should be installed. It is important to strengthen the public transport and encourage people to use it. Industrial emission monitoring. Emphasis should be laid on reducing emission from thermal power plant and industry by instituting strong emission standards. And there should be strong monitoring and enforcement system. Ensure limits are met and excess emissions led to punishment and punishment by the national green tribunals. The clean fuel promotion to electric mobility, increased bioethanol blending and expansion of the hydro CNG bus fleet. Government of India has created the Commission for the Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region adjoining areas to address the air pollution in Delhi NCR. Since air pollution knows no boundary, cooperative federalism is the need of the hour.